Bishops in Minnesota are defying the governor's order that bans religious gatherings of more than 10 people and are now telling parishes they may resume public masses next week. In a statement, the Minnesota bishops say an order that sweeps so broadly that it prohibits, for example, a gathering of 11 people in a cathedral with a seating capacity of several thousand defies reason. Therefore, we have chosen to move forward in the absence of any specific timeline laid out by Governor Walz and his administration. Joining me now on Skype is Montse Alvarado, Vice President and Executive Director at Becket, a nonprofit law firm dedicated to protecting religious freedom. Becket has also sent its own letter to Minnesota's governor and is providing counsel to both the Minnesota Catholic Conference and the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod in Minnesota in their efforts. Montse, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you.
Montse, the bishop's decision to defy a statewide executive order is the first made by you bishops since the coronavirus pandemic began, and that is certainly a significant move. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's wonderful to see a whole conference of Catholic bishops. The Minnesota bishops all came together. Archbishop Hebda and Bishop Cousins just gave a Facebook press conference talking about the reasons why they needed to open up, why they want to be there for the faithful, explaining that this is not a legal decision, it's a pastoral one.
Well, the bishops say that they've actually made efforts to work with state leaders, twice sending letters to the governor, but didn't receive what they called a concrete timeline and a roadmap for resuming public worship that included some reasonable guidance on congregational size. Why the delay in that?
You know, it's interesting when you have a government that's announcing reopening plans for recreational facilities, salons, beauty parlors, tattoo parlors, retail at 50%, but leaves the church at only 10 people gathering together. It makes you think that maybe they just don't understand the value of the spiritual life for the entire Minnesota community. And I think that the bishops saw that and the Lutheran Church saw that, and they realized that they needed to take matters into their own hands. They were being ignored.
Minnesota's bishops say they can safely resume public masses. Do you have any idea what that will look like and what parishioners can expect?
These are questions that everyone has, and I know that the Minnesota bishops are taking this really seriously, and they worked collaboratively with the Lutheran Church to put together a protocol that they sent into the government. They didn't receive any kind of feedback. They're waiting to see if there's a way that they can talk to, the health commissioner. But aside from that, they know that they're on solid footing. They worked with doctors and a coalition of other individuals and a nonprofit that's helping with this to develop these very specific guidelines, different exits, moving communion to the end of the service so that people don't have to re-enter the church once they receive the sacrament. All of these very specific guidelines to make sure that safety is first and that they're keeping their parishioners with access to the sacraments without putting them at risk.
Montse, what message do you think this sends for the defense of religious liberty, and as we watch other areas of society reopen, as you had mentioned, and want the same for churches?
This is about parity. This is about being on equal ground. If you can open a business, you can open a church. And the First Amendment doesn't disappear the moment that you have a health crisis or any kind of crisis. It's there because it's necessary. And we know that religious freedom is guaranteed no matter what the circumstance. So if we're opening up businesses and it's reasonable to have more than 10 people doing that, it's reasonable to have more than 10 people worshiping God.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Montse. We always appreciate your insight. Thanks again. Montse Alvarado, Vice President and Executive Director at Becket. Thank you.
Thank you.